Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. So, over the years I have bought hundreds, maybe thousands of record collections. I've been buying record collections for the past 15 plus years, and this one I just bought is without a doubt the best one I have ever had. It is unbelievable, just the size and the quality is off the charts. So, this is a really long story. This was a really crazy thing that happened, and it did not happen all at once. It happened in like kind of layers. And so the beginning of this story, it starts out with the Voice of America collection, which I know you guys have probably heard about. We did a video on it about 4 months ago, this huge Voice of America collection. But if you think you've heard everything about it, that's only the tip of the iceberg. This keeps unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. The story gets really crazy, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a recap of where the whole collection started and how it's developed to this point. But trust me, you're going to want to hear this whole story. It's amazing, and I'm going to show some of the records that we got. It is mind-blowing. So in May of 2024, the Voice of America radio station sold their entire archive off to a collector. They bought over 100,000 LPs and over 70,000 45s. The Voice of America, it was this huge radio station, extremely important in American culture and in music history. Very historic collection. These records, they need to be preserved, and that's been our goal, to preserve them. So if you want to hear more about that, like what Voice of America is, all that stuff, you're going to want to go back and watch the video, the first one I did. It's called I Dig Through 100,000 Records, the Voice of America Radio Archive, or something like that. In May of 2024, the Voice of America sold off their entire collection to a private collector in an auction. That private collector then contacted me and some other jazz guys. Other jazz guys have a YouTube channel called 10 Minute Record Review. They also made a video about the collection. So with my help and their help, his goal was to curate the very tip-top best collection that he could out of all these records. Obviously, out of 100,000 records, some of the stuff you're going to want to get rid of and some of the stuff you're going to want to keep. This guy wanted to keep the top-tier jazz, the top-tier rock, the top-tier funk, soul, reggae, hip-hop, all that stuff. He wanted to pull together just an all-star killer collection. And so this stuff is top 5% is what he wanted to pull together for his personal collection. So the goal for me and the other guys was to pull out the stuff for him that he's going to want for his collection, and then everything else he was letting me buy for my shop. So I went down there first in the fall of last year and bought a huge batch of stuff, brought it back. Everybody's loving it. This stuff is so clean. A lot of times it's 3-4 copies of the same album, and you've got like classics in there, like tons of white label promos, and almost everything is VG Plus or better. Super clean. A lot of things have never been played. It's mind-blowing, the jazz that's in there, the psychedelic rock that's in there, the prog, the funk, the soul, all that stuff. It is a very well-rounded collection. There's even metal in there. It's anything from, 1955 to 1991 vinyl-wise. So I went in November of 2024. I picked up the first batch. Then I went back a few weeks later in December and picked up another batch of stuff. So, but basically the first batch, I wasn't able to get through everything in that first trip. It was mind-blowing. I've made videos about all these trips individually. A couple weeks ago, I was able to go back and he was going to let me buy the duplicates. So basically he picked out like any record he was interested in keeping. If there's 3 copies, he would pick all 3 of them out. He would clean them, check to see which ones that he wanted to keep, and the keeper he would put in his private stash. The other 2 duplicates he would sell to me. So I've been waiting for this trip. This was supposed to be the top tier stuff. The duplicates were, that was my light at the end of the tunnel, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I wanted these duplicates. So I went up there and I bought a ton of these duplicates, which were all incredible. This is where most of the jazz came in. Unbelievable stuff. Blew my mind. And then also, there's also 70,000 45s. He needed some space back. Like this was just taking up so much room that we made a bulk deal on the 45s, and I bought them sight unseen, which is absolutely crazy, but I did it based on the quality of the LPs that were in the collection, the 45s hadn't been picked through. And so I just bought them hook, line, and sinker, all 70,000, bought them and brought them back here. So that was a couple weeks ago. And then I thought, my job here is done. But he had other plans. So a couple weeks later, which was this past week, I get a phone call from the collector, and he said, Dylan, you know, I've had a lot of fun with this stuff. I have learned a lot about music from this stuff, but right now I have another business venture that I'd like to pursue. I think it's time for me to sell everything. And I'm like, what? Like, we had spent, I mean, almost a year curating this top tier collection, and it's the best of the best, top of the mountain, top 5% of this collection. And he said, I'm ready to let it go. So I was very nervous. I was hopefully I could afford it, you know, but I there's only one answer, and that's yes, let's do it. So I took a flight up there and started looking through everything. And now I had an idea what was in there because he had everything logged in on Discogs. So I was able to go in on his Discogs account and look to see what was there. He probably had like 70% of everything logged in on Discogs. So I was able to go in there and see which versions he had, all that stuff. But like previous to that, I had not really tried to come up with a number on his stuff because it was off limits. I wasn't supposed to touch that stuff. It wasn't available. And so going in now as a buyer and being able to flip through the stuff and look, it was unreal to see some of this stuff. You know, this guy, I think he still wants to remain anonymous. You know, he's a businessman. He understood that I needed to make money. I understood that he needed to make money. So it was a very easy relationship because we both cared that each other's goals were accomplished in the process of this. I know he's probably watching this video. So if you are, I've told you this 1,000 times, but thank you, sir, for just being an upstanding gentleman. But we got through it. I made an offer, he made a counter, and we made it work. We always do. And so got in there, loaded everything up, got it all home. And now it's here. This is the most, first of all, the most I've ever spent on a collection, hands down, not even close. Right now, what we have that we have not sold yet, we probably have 30,000 LPs that we need to get through. And then we probably also, and also the 70,000 45s, you know, I've been through a couple thousand of them and we've started putting them in the shop, all that stuff. So that's kind of where we are with this. In this video, I want to show you some of this crazy stuff that's in this collection. It is stuff that people search their whole life and never see. And there's 4 of them or whatever. I mean, it's crazy, the absolute magnitude of what is here. I'm going to take a minute and sit down with these records and just show you some of this stuff. But I cannot express how overwhelming this whole thing is. Like, there is so much stuff here, and there's so much high quality stuff here. So I know that a lot of people, before I get to showing the records, let me just preface it with this. We have a local shop in Matthews, North Carolina, where we buy big collections and stuff like that all the time. So it's kind of a thing where the locals get first dibs on everything. I work really hard to move this stuff around, to find stuff, to bring it here, to price it and all stuff. And my local community is kind of the lifeblood of what we do. So we try to keep them happy. They bring me trades all the time. It's just the way a small business should operate. But also, since there's like multiple copies of this stuff, we have a Whatnot page where we do weekly shows. We do a lot of times on Sundays and Tuesdays, we'll do shows. And so I have a couple really big shows coming up that are, like, I have an all rock show coming up and I have an all jazz show coming up. If you're into jazz and you want some of this stuff, you do not want to miss this Whatnot sale. It is going to be huge. But go in there. If you don't have a Whatnot account, there's links below in the description of this video where you can sign up and get $15 voucher towards your first purchase, no strings attached. You can get that through my link in the description of this video. So we will be doing a really big drop record store day here in our shop. That is where we're going to be putting out a ton of great stuff. So if you're looking for a day to visit the store to get a good amount of this stuff, that's going to be the best day. I'm going to hustle it out before then and try to price as much as I can. And we're going to be putting out a ton of the heavy hitter Blue Notes, Prestige, stuff like that. So that's how you can get them. If there's a certain record in here you want, don't reach out to me and ask me. I'm going to put them where they're going to go. I have had, we just posted about this on our Instagram page. a few days ago, and I have had hundreds of comments like, "Hey, where are you putting that Roy Ayers? Hey, that Sonny Rollins record, I need that. What are you gonna do this? Can I get dibs on that?" And it's like, dude, there's so many people wanting this stuff, and there's so many records. So the fair way to do it is, I'm gonna put some in the whatnot page. I'm gonna put some in the shop. There is enough to go around, so we have plenty of stuff for everybody to be happy. So that's how we're going to be selling this stuff. Also, if you're interested in the 45s, we're going to be putting up 45 lots on our website. So you can go on our website, and there's a lot of 50 45s and a lot of 20 45s, and you can just buy. It's a random pick because we're just trying to get these going. Let's show you some of the records. So I'm here gonna pull out some crazy stuff to show you guys from the collection. It almost feels silly to do that because there's so much, and it's overwhelming, and it's kind of frustrating because there's no way I could show you how crazy this is. There's no way I could show how vast this is and how there's multiple copies of each thing. They're all really clean, super clean, like first mono Blue Note stuff. There's so many records, like the Blue Notes alone. I think we had 300 Blue Note titles, and then most of those had duplicates and triplicates. So it's probably more like 500 or 600 Blue Notes in the whole thing. There's definitely probably 600 or more Prestige. There's a ton of Impulse. So like this picture right here is the first time we got the Impulse stuff. So this is a few weeks ago we went. This is the first batch of Impulse stuff. And then this picture here is the second batch of Impulse stuff we just got the other day. And so between those two, that's a lot. This picture right here, both of these shelves are all Prestige. And then this shelf that I'm walking up to now is all original Blue Notes, and this is all just the tip top. So as far as the jazz goes, there's that, but there's a ton of Riverside, there's a ton of Contemporary, a Flying Dutchman, CTI, like Soul Note, just all kinds of stuff, you know. So this is maybe what I wanted most, and this is staying with me, so don't get your hopes up too much. Stooges, first press, white label promo. I already have a white label promo of this that I found a few years back, but this one is just way cleaner. Super, super clean. I mean, the vinyl on this thing, as is most things, like they didn't play this on the radio. But if you look at this thing, I mean, it does not look like it has ever seen a needle. I've already showed you guys this, but there were two of these in there. I got one of those for myself as well. And then also the Fun House white label promo. There's also a Danzig that it was pretty sweet. And then this is another one I've just been wanting forever. Jackie McLean Destination. I've been wanting an original of this. It's a first mono, and it's in beautiful shape. This is another one. This one that I get requested time and time again. This is an RL Monarch. So it's an RL SS both sides Monarch. And the disc on this thing, it's another one. I don't know if you can see. It is a solid VG Plus, if not better. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet. Don't blow me up too bad. I want to listen to it. I have a copy that's really clean too, but it's not a Monarch. So I kind of always wanted one, a Monarch that's this clean. So a lot of this stuff I'm going to have to take my time with. You know, I'm not going to sell everything right now, but I'm going to be putting a bunch of stuff. I need to make some money back. So David Bowie, a man who sold the world, white label promo. These are very commonly bootlegged. It's sometimes pretty tough to tell which ones are real and which ones are fake. This one was definitely real because it was the white label promo. This one I've been looking for a long time. This is an original first press of Bernard Purdie. Pretty good, unbelievable jazz funk. MC5, Kick Out the Jams, white label promo. I've been looking for one of these forever also. This is a 1959 mono. Still don't have a first press of this, but this one's very close. This is the earliest one I've ever found, and this one's in really, really nice shape, so I'll be keeping that one. This Sonny Clark Trio, extremely rare Blue Note. This is a first mono, beautiful condition. Blowing in from Chicago, Cliff Jordan, John Gilmore, first mono, beautiful condition. Duke Pearson Wahoo. There's been three. This is the third copy of this that I've had in this collection, and this one is stunning, first mono. Donald Byrd, Bird in the Hand, first mono. Beautiful condition on this one as well. This is a tough one to get. This Ramones Rocket to Russia promo. Oh my gosh. This is a record that is so good. People look for this all over. This is a first press, new folk sound, Terry Callier. This is an incredible folk record. It's unbelievable. If you look up what these go for, this is a very rare, sought after, expensive record. I've had so many people ask me if I've ever seen copies. I have a copy I've had for a few years, and it's like super clean, but I would never sell it, you know. So there was this one, there was this one, and this one, and this one. So when I saw all those, I was like, these two Elmo Hope, Blue Note 10 inches, I've been wanting forever, and so those were in there. Those will probably stay with me. This is another one I was really excited to see in there. Townes Van Zandt. This is maybe my #1 favorite album of all time. Townes Van Zandt's self-titled on Poppy. I already have one, but it's always cool to see those. They don't ever turn up. There were 3 copies of Kool and the Gang. This is a super rare record and really hard to find clean. All 3 copies were super clean. A bunch of stuff like this, you know, Savage Resurrection, all-time great psych record. There was the magnificent Thad Jones, which is, oh my gosh, a huge jazz grail. This is a 57 mono. There were 2 of them in there, and I already had one, so they're both going to be going for sale. This is maybe my favorite blues album of all time, so I love seeing that. Last Night Blues, Lightning Hopkins, incredible. This is one I never thought I would see. This is a promo copy of Love Forever Changes. Look at that. So cool. And then there's a bunch of stuff like this too, like this Dizzy Gillespie, not an expensive record, but it's signed by Dizzy Gillespie because the artist would sign stuff for the Voice of America. Ahmad Jamal to the VOA, signed. I have a bunch of signed stuff. I have a Reba McEntire, I have a Steely Dan one that's signed. There's so much stuff. This is another one I get requested all the time. Paul Pena, Rashid Ali, and Frank Lowe, the Rashid Ali Quartet. This is one of the last Strata Easts I needed. Sojourner Ensemble, Al Salam. This is a very tough Strata to find. Flight 17, really killer, kind of free jazz. Lloyd McNeil, super rare. I mean, if you guys know this type of fringe jazz stuff. The Remains, one of the greatest garage records of all time. Super clean copy. This Clash, London Calling, white label promo. Unreal. This is another one. Crazy Blue Note you absolutely never see. Here Comes Lewis Smith. Duke Jordan, Tommy Flanagan, Doug Watkins, Art Taylor. Unbelievable. Look at this thing, man. Deep groove, all that. Yeah, there's this Serve You Right to Suffer, John Lee Hooker, one of the greatest blues albums ever. Some Dorothy Ashby, look at this. Sonics, introducing the Sonics, super rare. Skip Spence Orr, love it. The Millennium Begin. Eric Dolphy out there. I think there were 3 copies of this in there, just kind of scattered about. I'm tracking them down. A first press of a first mono, Love Supreme, which is super clean. This Sun Ra is another one of the rarest records in this collection. It's Sun Ra and his orchestra, My Favorite Things. El Saturn has this like tape up with it. Very cool. I don't know if I'm going to keep this copy. I already had a copy, so I'm going to sell one of them for sure, but I don't know if mine doesn't have that note tape to it, which is like really cool. So this isn't one that this isn't even on Discogs. This is super rare with this cover. I've only ever seen one other copy, and it's mine. So just one of those things that's super rare. There were 2 copies of Gandalf in there. There were like 2 or 3 copies of this, this Andrew Hill Blackfire, which is incredible. I kept one, but I think there's 1 or 2 left. This is Whistle Stop, Kenny Dorham. Unbelievable stuff. There was a couple copies of that in there. These are all first monos. Kenny Burrell, Blue Lights, Volume 1 and 2. There's actually 2 copies of Volume 1. These are first monos. Beautiful shape. And there's Profile Duke Pearson. There was 2 copies of this in there. First mono. I got one. I'll sell one. So it's kind of cool. Like, you know, a lot of these I would feel bad. I mean, I don't ever feel bad about keeping records when you work really hard to dig them out and find them. It's kind of part of the thing. It's part of one of the things that keep you going doing this. But you know, if you find 2, it makes it feel a lot better because you can sell one and keep one. And when you find 3, that's a sweet spot. There's a bunch of hip hop like this Public Enemy, really cool. There was, I think, 3 copies of this Roy Ayers, He's Coming, which is tremendous. I mean, look, have you ever seen a copy with absolutely no ring wear? Crazy. Mingus, I'll Hum, demonstration copy, not for sale. You know, OG 6i. You got a promo copy of License to Ill. Got a copy of Paul's Boutique OG. So there was some pretty good hip hop in there. I think there's been 3 copies of Undercurrent in there. There were 2 of these in there. It's Roy Ayers' first record, West Coast Vibes, very hard to find. There's a bunch of like Miles Davis promos like this. 3 copies of this in there, Weldon Irvine Sinbad, which is, oh my gosh, one of my absolute favorite jazz funk records of all time. Super hard to find. There was a couple copies of this, which I'm keeping one because I've never found a promo. But Aerosmith's first record, it's a promo, and it has the misspelling right there, Walking the Dig instead of Walking the Dog. Those are really rare, and it's got the timing strip on the bottom. But yeah, there were 2 of those in there. I mean, so much Bill Evans, Impulse stuff. I mean, there were 3 copies of this Coltrane in there. You know, Mingus, Head Over Heels, another really, really killer hard rock record that you don't hear enough about. There were 5 copies of Indian Summer. I sold 1 already, and then I've got these 3, and then I got another one in there. There was 3 copies of Axelrod, Earth Rot. There's 2 right here, and there's another one in another box over there. Just like tons of psych stuff, hard rock stuff, hard to find stuff, jazz stuff, first pressed, first mono, a lot of contemporaries, just all over the place. I'm just trying to show you guys some of the highlights. So much Bill Evans. It's been crazy. There's 3 copies of this. Again, there's 2 here, and I got another one in a box over there. There's another one of those. I think I got 3 copies of that. There's another copy of Savage Resurrection. Here's one that's Ultimate Spinach. Really hard to find a record, but this is a mono promo copy. Really hard to find. There was 2 or 3 copies of this Joe Henderson, Power to the People. Tremendous record. Look at this, Metallica Ride the Lightning. This is the Electro release, but it's a white label promo. Just a few more quick ones. This is The Country Blues of John Lee Hooker on Riverside. I've wanted this record for so long. Never even seen one. This is another one I'll be keeping. This is a Doors mono, but it's got a promo sticker. There was 2 copies of Delta Mama Blues, which I obviously already have. The Elements, Joe Henderson, Alice Coltrane. Unbelievable record, really good stuff. This is a really rare one. Charlie Rouse, yeah, super, super clean. Triple Exposure, Hal McCusick. This is really rare. Prestige. So this is just like, I'm telling you, tip of the iceberg. There's so much crazy stuff in here. You know, like I said, it's just an overwhelming task to present this collection, to even show you. Probably the best way to do it is if you guys follow us on Instagram. We're going to be doing flip videos of the stuff that we're putting out in the shop. And so it's at Noble Records. There's going to be a lot of really great stuff going on in the shop. And that's kind of the best way to see what's going out. But then also, don't forget to check us out on Whatnot. We're going to be doing 45 shows there. If you're interested in the 45s, we're going to be doing one night it's all jazz, one night it's all rock. And we're talking about white label promos, stuff that's like really uncirculated, beautiful condition. I'm going to do a couple flip videos just of random boxes that we have, just solid stuff, just so you can kind of see. But I mean, we have 30,000. So, you know, like anything, there's some stuff that's kind of like on the cheaper end, but there's no junk. None of it is trash. It is all, the stuff that we have is all really clean. In some of these flip videos, you might be thinking, why do they keep showing the same record over and over again? I'm not showing any record more than once. These are doubles. So if you see a record 2 or 3 times, it's because I have 2 or 3 copies. You know, everything that we have is the top. Like, we have processed through a lot of this stuff like over the past 4 months, but this is the best of the best of the best. That's been, you know, kind of boiled down to the top 5% of this collection. So, I mean, flipping through 300, 400, 500 prestige titles is mind-blowing. Same with the Blue Note stuff. Like, just what? You're seeing these original monos, and there's 2 or 3 of them. You're like, and sometimes it'll be the mono, the stereo, 2 extra monos. Like, it is hard, not hard, it's impossible to explain to you how insane this collection is. And so I feel grateful that I was in the position to be able to get this collection. And you know, I appreciate you guys for supporting the shop, supporting our channel, supporting us on Whatnot online. We do about 10 different things to bring money in, and every dollar that I make goes right back out to buying more records and stuff like that. So it's kind of been our goal for this collection, is that, you know, it is a really important part of American culture, this radio station that was transmitting all this music overseas to other countries that weren't allowed to have this music played on their radio stations. And so a lot of times the first time anybody ever heard of Metallica in overseas in a bunch of these other countries, they heard from Voice of America. You know, a lot of times that they heard Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or something like that is the first time they ever heard it was. And then even, you know, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, all that stuff, all those early, like late 50s, early 60s jazz that was just changing the landscape of music. It was being transmitted in all these different countries where they would have never had access to it then. So it is a very important collection, and my goal is that no one receives a record and doesn't know that it came from the Voice of America. So everything that we sell comes with a Voice of America sticker that just says, hey, this came from the Voice of America Radio Archive. And then they're able to scan a barcode to see the original video, see where it came from, to just kind of preserve the legacy of that, and where, like, that record that you're holding in your hands actually did something. It actually, people heard it all over the world, you know. So that's what really keeps it. And you know, some people, they give me a hard time about the catalog numbers written on top. So they all have that. But that's part of the provenance of that's where this record came from. That's this cataloging system. This has been a wild experience. You know, I don't want all my videos just to be about Voice of America. A lot of them have been over the past 6 months. And my fear is that I'm kind of talking about it too much. But this is just kind of the conclusion of this is the end of the story, you know. And when I'm doing my heavy rotation videos, which I show every week, the stuff I'm adding to my collection, as I go through this stuff and I listen to it and I catalog it on Discogs and I put it on the shelves, I will show you which records that I'm keeping. That's going to happen. But it's just kind of been something hanging over my head, like where is this collection going to go? You know, he did tell me a while back, hey, there could be a day when I sell this whole collection off. Do you want me to call you? And I was like, yeah, I do. I didn't expect the day to be so soon, but now I feel like it's a very good closing to the chapter. But also now it's kind of time to roll up our sleeves and start pricing records, because the shop back room is full. I have a couple storage units. They're all full. So we really need to get going to price these records out. But anyways, I've talked enough about it. Thank y'all for watching. We've already told you how to get a hold of these records. Hopefully you guys can get a piece of this, because it is a very cool opportunity. And then once I've sold all this stuff and it's all gone, there's not going to be any more of it. So I encourage you to get a record from the collection. It's just, I think it's a very cool part of anybody's collection to have something to say, hey, this came from this radio station, and this is why it's important. So thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.